The sand beneath her pads sears at 60 degrees. The mother cheetah has left the pack. Her cubs are hidden in a rock crevice 3 miles away, a cleft in the escarpment that faces east, out of the sun's full force. She has made this trip before, 100 times, always in the early morning when the shadows are long and the heat is a promise, not a threat. But the desert is not done yet. A haze gathers on the horizon, thin at first, then thickening into a wall of ochre dust that swallows the sky. The sandstorm is building. She does not see it. She does not need to see it. Her nose twitches, catching the salt of dry earth lifted by a wind that was not there a moment ago. The air changes. It becomes sharp, dense, carrying the scent of distance and danger. She lowers her head, ears flattened against her skull, and picks up her pace. Her body is built for speed, but the ground is soft, and each stride sinks. The muscles in her haunches coil and release. She is covering ground, but the storm is covering more. The rock crevice is a scar in the sandstone, a crack wide enough for a mother to squeeze through, narrow enough that a lion would not follow. The cubs wait inside, 3 of them, their eyes still blue with youth, their paws too large for their bodies. They do not know the word for storm. They know only the absence of their mother, the warmth of each other, the damp stone that holds the night's coolness for a few more hours. They are alive. That is all they know. The mother runs. Her lungs pull the thick air, and her tongue hangs loose, but she does not stop. The wind is rising fast now, lifting loose gravel, sending it skittering across the hardpan like teeth. The sandstorm of the Sahara does not creep. It arrives. One moment, the horizon is visible. The next, the world is gone, replaced by a brown fog that scrapes the skin. She must reach the den before the entrance is sealed. Before you continue, consider this. The sandstorm arrives in an instant, and she has no time to prepare. If you feel the pull of this story, subscribe so you don't miss what happens when the dust clears. And in the comments, leave one word that describes how this storm feels. Is it arrival? Erasure? I would say arrival, because the desert never gives warning. But that is only the beginning. The cheetah mother has been hunting since dawn. She left the cubs before the sun cleared the dunes, when the air was still cold enough to hold scent. She tracked a young oryx for 2 hours, using the wind, using the gullies, using a patience that is not instinct, but learned, repeated, refined across 1,000 hunts. But the oryx turned. It caught her scent at the last moment, and the chase was over before it began. She did not eat. Her belly is empty, and now the storm has erased every trail, every landmark, every bearing she held. If you have ever had to push your own needs aside for someone else's survival, you know the exhaustion that settles into her bones. It is not the exhaustion of a single day. It is the exhaustion of a season, a drought, a decade of making the same choice over and over. She does not think about whether she will make it. She does not think about the cubs at all, not in the way a human would. She thinks in terms of distance, of time, of the path that leads to the crevice and the 3 small bodies waiting inside. Her body moves because it has no other choice. The storm is full now, and visibility is down to 3 feet. She moves with her head low, her whiskers brushed back against her muzzle, her eyes narrowed to slits. She is following a memory of the terrain, not the terrain itself. But memory is not reliable. The dunes shift. The escarpment has contours that change with each flood, each wind, each year. She veers left when she should have veered right. She cannot see her own paw prints. The desert does not negotiate. Every decision costs something. If you want to understand the real price of survival, stay with this story. She stops. She stands in the middle of the storm, and for a long moment she does not move. Her ears swivel, catching frequencies a human ear cannot detect. The cubs. She is listening for the cubs. But the wind carries only itself, a flat howl that erases everything. She lowers her chest to the ground, her chin resting on her forelegs. She will wait. The storm cannot last forever, but the storm can change the shape of the world, and when it lifts, the rock crevice might be gone. The cubs are blind to the light, but they feel the tremor of the wind against the stone. The crevice fills with dust. It drifts in through the crack, settling on their fur, coating their nostrils. They sneeze. They press closer together. The smallest one whimpers, a high, thin sound that is lost before it leaves his throat. The mother cannot hear it, but she knows it. She knows the sound of her own litter, the pitch of each cry, the rhythm of their breathing when they sleep. She knows the absence of that sound now, and the absence is a weight. This is the layer of the desert that the camera cannot show, the calculation. The mother has approximately 93 hours before her cubs die, assuming they have nursed recently, and assuming no predator finds the den. 93 hours is not a long time. It is 3 days and a dawn. It is the distance between a living litter and a memory. She could stay here, wait out the storm, and then pick up the scent trail again. But the storm might last for hours. It might last for days. And every hour the entrance is buried, the cubs breathe less. She stands. She turns her body against the wind and she pushes forward. The sandstorm buries the entrance not in one moment, but in stages. First, the fine grains accumulate at the base of the escarpment, forming a drift that rises inch by inch. Then the smaller rocks tumble down, caught in the wind, adding coarse layers to the soft base. Then the heavier stones, dislodged by the vibration of the storm, roll into place. The crevice does not disappear all at once. It disappears slowly, the way a voice fades when you walk away from it. The sound of the cubs is there, then quieter, then gone. She reaches the escarpment, but she does not recognize it. The formation she has used as a landmark for 3 years is gone, smoothed into a curve by the wind. She circles, her nose brushing the stone, but she cannot find the crack. She stops. She starts again. She is frantic, but not in the way a human would show it. Her body speaks in micro-movements, the twitch of her ear, the dilation of her pupils, the breath that comes faster, then faster. She scratches at the base of the wall, her claws scraping against rock, but she finds nothing. Then something changes. A sound carries from the distance. It is not the cubs. It is a hyena. The hyena coughs, a low resonant bark that bounces off the escarpment and reaches her through the storm. The hyena is scavenging. It is following the storm, because storms uncover things. It is following the scent of the den. The mother freezes. Her head snaps toward the sound, and her pupils dilate. The hyena is a quarter mile away, but it is moving closer. It is moving toward the same crevice she cannot find. The mother has one choice, and it is not a choice. It is a calculation. She can stay at the escarpment and search until she finds the entrance, but the hyena will find the cubs first. Or she can intercept the hyena, drive it away, and then return to the search. But the hyena is not alone. Hyenas hunt in clans. One cough is a signal. The mother does not know how many are out there in the dust. She does not know where they are. She only knows that the sound is coming from the direction of the den, and that she has run out of time. This is what mothers in the desert know. Caring for another life means learning to ignore your own hunger. Keep watching. The hardest choice is coming. This choice, to ignore your own hunger, is the only choice she has. If you've ever recognized that weight, subscribe to continue with us as we follow mothers who carry it. And in the comments, tell us about a time you had to prioritize survival over comfort. What did you let go of? She turns from the escarpment. She leaves the crevice behind, the cubs inside, and she runs toward the hyena. She is not hunting. She is not eating. She is buying time. The hyena sees her before she sees it, a blur of fur and dust that resolves into a crouching shape, its back up, its teeth showing. The mother cheetah does not have the strength for a prolonged fight. Her body is built for speed, not for wrestling. She has not eaten in 2 days. Her reserves are low, but she has something the hyena does not. She has a reason to survive. She lunges, not to kill, but to threaten. The hyena recoils, not in fear, but in confusion. It does not expect a cheetah to attack. Cheetahs are not fighters. They are runners, quick and delicate. The hyena weighs twice what she weighs, and it knows it. But the mother is not behaving like a cheetah. She is behaving like something the hyena has never seen. She hisses. She bats at its muzzle with claws extended. The hyena circles, assessing. The mother does not give it time to assess. She lunges again, this time making contact, her claws raking across the hyena's nose. The hyena yelps. It pulls back. It decides in that moment that the cost is not worth the reward. It turns, and it vanishes into the dust. But the hyena is not the problem. The problem is that the storm has shifted the ground, and the mother is no longer certain where the crevice is. She has lost her own den. She stands in the wind, and the world around her is featureless, a flat brown blanket that offers no reference. The cubs are somewhere inside a 100-foot stretch of escarpment, but the entrance is gone. She scratches. She circles. She smells only dust and sand and the fading trace of the hyena. The cubs do not call out. They cannot. Their voices are too small, and the storm is too loud. The sandstorm buries the entrance, but the desert does not stop there. The desert is a system of continuities. One threat does not end. It leads to another. The hyena will return. If not tonight, then tomorrow. The lions will follow the storm because storms kill prey, and prey is carcasses, and carcasses are food. The mother knows this. She knows that every hour she spends searching is an hour the cubs grow weaker, an hour the predators grow bolder, an hour the desert grows heavier. She does not have 93 hours anymore. She has maybe 40. She has the time between now and when the cubs run out of oxygen, trapped inside a crevice that is filling with sand. She lowers her head to the ground. She presses her cheek against the stone. She closes her eyes. She is not praying. She is listening. She is feeling the vibration of the earth through her bones. The desert is not silent even when it is buried. The sand moves. The rock settles. The air moves through cracks too small to see. She feels through her jaw a faint pulse. It is not sound. It is presence. The cubs are breathing somewhere beneath her. She does not know how she knows. She knows. She begins to dig. Her claws scrape against the rock, against the compacted sand that fills the crevice. She digs without momentum, without the certainty that she will find anything. She digs because the alternative is not acceptable. She digs because the only way through this desert is through the calculations that a mother must make. Ignore the pain, ignore the uncertainty, ignore the fact that the sand keeps sliding back into every hole she makes. She digs for 20 minutes. She digs for 40. The storm howls around her, and her coat is caked with grit, and her tongue is dry, and her muscles burn. She breaks through. The sand gives way, and her paw punctures into an air pocket, and the scent of her cubs rises like a song. She hears them then, a mew, a shuffle, the sound of 3 small bodies moving in the dark. She presses her face into the hole, and she calls to them, a low chirping sound that she has used since they were born. They answer. She begins to widen the opening, scraping sand away from the entrance, pulling it out in great scoops with her forelegs. The cubs are alive. They are safe. They are inside. But the desert is not done yet. The storm is still blowing. The sand is still moving. And even if she reaches them, even if she pulls them out into the air, she still has to find food. She still has to nurse them. She still has to protect them through the night, when the temperature drops to near freezing and the predators are on the move. She has done this. She has done it before. She will do it again. She lowers her head into the crevice, and she begins to pull the cubs out, one by one. The first cub emerges into the storm, blinking against the sting of airborne sand. The mother nudges him toward the lee of the escarpment, where the wind is slightly less violent. She turns back into the hole. The second cub is smaller, slower, his fur matted with the dust that has been accumulating for hours. She takes him by the scruff, gently, and pulls him out into the open. The third cub does not come. She reaches deeper into the crevice. Her paw touches stone where the body should be. She scrapes. The sand has shifted while she was pulling the first 2, a small collapse that filled the back of the den. She digs, her claws finding nothing but compacted grit. Her breath comes faster. She shoves her head into the opening, her ears flattening against the rock, her whiskers brushing the walls. The crevice narrows. She cannot fit. The smallest cub is trapped behind a wall of sand that she cannot reach. She pulls back. She looks at the 2 cubs beside her, shivering against the stone. She looks at the hole. The calculation forms in her mind with a clarity that is almost mechanical. The third cub is the smallest. The third cub is the weakest. The third cub has been struggling to nurse since birth, always pushed aside by the others, always feeding last. The mother knows this. She has watched it for weeks. The cub's chances of surviving the season were already low before the storm. Now they are lower. To dig him out would take time she does not have. The storm is still building. The hyena might return. And the 2 cubs outside are exposed, vulnerable, waiting. She does not hesitate. She does not wail. She does not perform grief. She turns her body away from the crevice, and she gathers the 2 cubs against her, pressing them into the warmth of her fur. The third cub is still alive inside the collapsed den. He will be alive for another few hours, maybe a day, until the oxygen runs out or the cold takes him. But the mother has already made her decision. She will not dig. She will not risk the 2 for the 1. The desert has taught her that survival is not about saving everyone. Survival is about saving enough. She leads the 2 cubs away from the escarpment toward a cluster of boulders a quarter mile to the south. The storm is still howling, but the boulders offer pockets of stillness, hollows where the wind cannot reach. She settles the cubs into a depression between 2 stones, curling her body around them. her head resting on the ground. The cubs nurse, their small mouths working against her belly. She does not eat. She does not drink. She lies still, and the sand drifts over her flanks, covering her like a blanket made of the same material that buried her youngest. The night comes slowly in the desert, not a sudden dark, but a gradual fading, as if the light is being drained through a sieve. The temperature drops. The mother shivers, but she does not move. The cubs are warm against her, and she lets their heat sustain her. She does not sleep. She listens. The storm dies down by midnight, the wind retreating to a whisper. The stars emerge, cold and sharp, as if they have been polished by the same dust that choked the day. The mother raises her head. She sniffs the air. The hyena is gone. The lions are not here. She has a few hours. At dawn, she leaves the cubs in the boulder hollow and makes her way back to the escarpment. She does not go to find the third cub. She knows he is dead. She goes to find water. The storm may have uncovered a cistern, a shallow depression where rain collected weeks ago, now exposed by the wind. She walks the base of the escarpment, her nose working, her eyes scanning the ground. She finds it. A small pool of muddy water, no larger than her own body, hidden in a fold of the rock. She drinks. The water is gritty, warm, but it is water. She drinks until her stomach is full. Then she returns to the cubs, carrying the moisture in her bloodstream, in her milk, in her body's capacity to turn a single drink into 3 lives. The days that follow are a repetition of the same equation. She hunts. She fails. She tries again. She returns to the cubs empty, then empty again, then successful on the 4th day. A small hare that she kills quickly and carries back with the carcass still warm. The cubs are too young to eat meat. They need milk, but the hare is fuel for the mother, and fuel means milk, and milk means the cubs live another day. She eats the hare in 3 minutes, bones and fur and all, and then she lies down and lets the cubs nurse. The desert is a system of continuities. The threats do not end. They transform. By the end of the 2nd week, the mother has lost 1/3 of her body weight. Her ribs show. Her coat is dull. The 2 cubs are growing, but they are growing because she is shrinking. She has made the trade. She has exchanged her own mass for theirs, her own survival for theirs, her own future for the chance that they will see the next season. It is not love. It is not sacrifice, not in the human sense. It is a biological transaction, written in her genes before she was born, executed with a precision that requires no thought. The cubs will grow. They will learn to hunt. They will leave her, or she will leave them, and the cycle will begin again with a new litter, new crevices, new storms. The mother does not know this. She does not need to know it. She lies in the hollow between the boulders, her 2 surviving cubs pressed against her belly, and she does what every mother in the desert has done before her. She waits. She breathes. She spends herself until there is nothing left to spend. The world does not offer a reward for endurance. No trophy waits at the end of a drought. The desert does not remember the mothers who held on, but the cubs remember, not in the way a human remembers, with words and images, but in the way their bodies grow, in the way their muscles learn the timing of a hunt, in the way their own milk teeth give way to the teeth that will one day tear the same hares she is chasing now. The memory of her is not in their minds. It is in their fur, their bones, the warmth they carry into the cold nights when she is no longer there to shelter them. The season is not over when the cubs stand on their own. It is over when they take their first kill. That moment comes on a morning when the air is still cold and the shadows are long, and the 2 cubs, now half her size, corner a springbok fawn against a dune. They do not hesitate. They move as she has taught them, not through instruction, but through observation, through days of watching her fail and succeed and fail again. The fawn falls. They eat. The mother watches from a distance, her body thin, her coat scarred by the season, her eyes holding that flat desert stillness that nothing can move. She does not stay. When the cubs are full and sleeping in the hollow beneath the dune, she walks away. There is no farewell, no backward glance. She moves north, toward a different part of the escarpment, where the rains have been heavier and the prey is more plentiful. Her body still carries the weight of the season, the lost cub, the empty belly, the night spent shivering against the cold. But her body is also carrying something else, a new pattern of heat, a new readiness in her loins. The cycle is already beginning again. Those who watch the desert know Survival is measured by what you refuse to leave behind. She leaves nothing behind but the memory of her steps. If you want to keep walking through these stories of maternal instinct, subscribe to this channel. And in the comments, answer this. What is the one thing you would refuse to leave behind if the desert demanded it? The cubs, the water, the hope? She chose the ones she could carry. She leaves behind nothing. She carries the cubs as far as she could carry them. Then she releases them into the world that will break them or shape them. The desert erases every paw print, every scent, every trace of the path she took. By the time the next storm arrives, there will be no sign that a mother once crossed these dunes, that 3 cubs once breathed inside a crack in the stone, that a hyena was driven away by something that had nothing left to lose. The cheetah mother walks, the sun rises, the sand shifts, and the desert, as it always does, continues.